Let's talk about the season finale based on what we discussed earlier. Either Izzy was going to reject Stacy based on his pattern with Johnny when they're not as perfect as he projects them to be, or Stacy really catching on to all of Izzy's lies and inconsistencies. A few notable things here. She mentions that she loves asking Izzy the hard questions because she loves catching him off guard. And you see Stacy's judgmental side come out when she discusses how he hasn't experienced as much as him, or is seemingly uncultured, when Izzy has explained his controlled childhood in the past. I would find this quite condescending of Stacy. On the day of the wedding, Stacy says she feels weirdly calm. Now this is where it's evident she's already made the decision to say no, and she has accepted it. She finally starts to talk about the lack of transparency from Izzy's side. And this is a pretty big issue, as I mentioned earlier, especially when you are trying to build trust together in a relationship. However, I do then find it kind of sneaky that she hadn't really made it clear to Izzy if really she did want to be with him, because she spends a lot of time talking about how much she actually loves him as well. When her mother mentions not ignoring red flags, that could be an indication of a side conversation that they had together about him lying about his credit score. Meanwhile, Izzy is in a fantasy world. In previous episodes, we did see that he really cares about how he appears to others, or how Stacy and him look on the outside to others. So of course he's going to be a little bit delusional about how good of their communication really is. And he knows where he went wrong. He knows he hid the fact that he had bad credit score, and his friends decide to encourage him to write Stacy a letter. Basing this on past events, this could be a last-ditch effort for him to have Stacy dismiss the fact that he hid the credit score history or whatever from her. Stacy feels reassured by the letter, says that it kind of tells her that he's always going to be there for her. But then again, if Stacy is very big on transparency, then why is she pretending like she doesn't know that she's already going to say no? On the day of the vows, she says she wants to say yes. And there's a lot of things that she needs, and one of them being time, and that's completely valid. Given the timeline of the show, I believe they had like a total of a month together. Here's where it gets very strange. Izzy, being very mindful of being on a stage in front of lots of people, says he understands. His go-to reaction to things is to say what the other person wants to hear. Whereas you would consider if someone's really in love with somebody else, and in front of both of their families, they would want to hear yes, and would be justifiably devastated and upset. Oh, but not Izzy. He is cool, calm, collected. He takes it like a champ, says more sweet things, and thanks everyone for being there and walks off with an applause. Although his sincerity is questionable, he was very respectful to Stacy in front of everyone. Then both Stacy and Izzy have side conversations with their moms about what happened. I'm not sure if this is because it was scripted or not, but the conversation seemed very shallow. Stacy says she feels relieved and that it wasn't right today, but we already know that she planned to say no. I do believe if she genuinely didn't plan to say no at the altar, that she would be much more emotional at this time. We see a confrontation between Stacy and Izzy after Izzy's talked to his mom. His mom is so sweet and reassuring and says that it's better you got hurt now than later. You can see Izzy's very hurt by what happened and didn't really see it coming. Stacy attempts to reassure him by saying that she'll do whatever work needs to be put into it. She just needs more time. And finally, we see Izzy being real to some extent and saying that even though she's still standing there, they're at different spots. And that if he was the one, it wouldn't matter when she said yes. And he wonders when is going to be the right time, which is kind of valid. We've seen so far that this relationship is not as transparent as both parties would like to be seen as. I remember a comment from Izzy talking about how he saw Titanic and it reminded him of what unconditional love looks like. It does give us insight into how much he idealizes things. Like he idealized Johnny up until she told him something he didn't want to hear. Or maybe how he's idolized Stacy up until she told him something he didn't want to hear. Or that was inconsistent with his fantasies. It could be genuine frustration, but now that we see that not many people are around, he finally talks about how it's been for him in the relationship with Stacy, where she does try to find things wrong from his perspective. And we have seen her be quite high maintenance. She said she always requests letters from Izzy and that this was the first unprompted letter that he sent her. Or she needs the flowers, she needs the dates, she needs the private jets, she needs dinners and all of these things done for her to feel loved and appreciated. Maybe this public rejection has finally cracked the illusion for Izzy and he sees things for what they really are. As if he knew she probably wasn't all in all along. Or if he idolized or love-bombed her long enough that she would have agreed or dismissed all of his inconsistencies. He said he overlooked looks, money, and drama. Now what does that mean? Not sure if it was a little shade on his part. Or he's still trying to defend that he hid his credit score from her. You can tell that he has felt genuinely judged by Stacy's privilege. But why wouldn't he have said anything before? Why was he always saying the right things and not confronting all of these inconsistencies between both of them? He remembers these things from conversations they both had together because he saw that she judged him for it. And then maybe through feeling a lot of pain or sorrow, or because finally her perfect image has shattered, he resorts to insulting her, asking why is she 33, single and not married, and that he could possibly give her everything that the 45-year-olds that she usually goes for give her. You can sense the resentment in this statement. He wanted to be perfect for her. He wanted to be rich. Through his conversation with her dad, he aspired to be the man that she wished she had. Wonder what we'll find out at the tell-all.